Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Alliance Against Violence and Adversity's Webinar Wednesdays. I'm your host, Jason Novick, the AVA Webinar Coordinator, and I'm joining you today from the University of Calgary. And on behalf of AVA, I want to begin by acknowledging that on a national level, that we encourage everyone to learn about the Indigenous peoples of the lands on which they live, work, or visit, and become engaged allies together. And in the spirit of truth and reconciliation, we respect the self-determination of First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people and their rights and responsibilities and cultures, languages, and the pursuit of wellness. So thank you so much for joining us today. And the focus of today's webinar is if no one tells the story, nothing will ever change, creating and sharing stories about adolescent and young adult health. And we are joined today by Dr. Mike Lang and Teddy Kyomuhangi, and they are from Common Language Digital Storytelling. So Dr. Mike Lang is a health researcher, award-winning filmmaker, digital storytelling facilitator, an adjunct assistant professor on the Faculty of Nursing at the University of Calgary. And his professional and research focus is on using digital storytelling and documentary filmmaking in education, advocacy, research, and a therapeutic capacity within healthcare and wellness contexts. Teddy Kyomuhangi has a social science background and a master's of public health leadership with a focus in saving mothers and children. Teddy has worked for almost 20 years in managing and coordinating community empowerment and capacity building projects through community health workers. Teddy is the senior program manager for Healthy Child Uganda. So, as a note that this webinar is being recorded for future reference, please feel free to post your questions in the Q&A function, either towards the end of this presentation or as the webinar progresses, as questions emerge. And I would now like to turn it over to Dr. Mike Lang.
Awesome. Great. Great. Well, thanks for having us here today. We're very excited to chat a little bit more about the work that we have been doing with digital storytelling in East Africa. And in particular, we're going to talk about projects in Uganda today. Yeah, it's been almost seven or I think closing in on 8 years now that we've been doing this work. And we're going to talk a lot more about the process. But first, I thought maybe I would bring Teddy in to talk just a little bit about Healthy Child Uganda before we jump into digital storytelling and some of the specific projects around adolescent young adult health that they've been doing there. So, Teddy, I'll pass it over to you to talk a bit more about Healthy Child Uganda, the work that you guys are doing over there.
Okay. As the person who did the introduction said, I work with Healthy Child Uganda, and Healthy Child Uganda is a partnership between University of Calgary and Imbarara University of Science and Technology here in Uganda. The initiative started in 2003 here in Uganda, and how it comes to be a partnership with the University of Calgary is that one of the co-founders of Healthy Child Uganda is currently a staff at University of Calgary, but at that time when Healthy Child Uganda was founded, Jennifer Brenner, who is working with Global Health School of Medicine, was a student. So I always say that never underrate anyone. Anyone can be very important at any time. So Jen Brenner and colleagues here at Timberra University saw that children were dying of preventable diseases at that time. And therefore, they thought of what they could do in the community. One, to prevent the illnesses in children. But the second thing was that in case someone gets sick, they are able to be identified and referred to the right point of care. So that is how Healthy Child Uganda gets to be started. One, with the aim of preventing diseases in children below 5 years. And then eventually we got to learn that to have a healthy baby, you must have a healthy mother. mother. So we added a component of maternal health. And along the way, we have also added the adolescent health, which is the most recent experience that we are going to share. So a lot has been achieved under Healthy Child Uganda. But most important to note is that in 2014, the project that started as a project, eventually as a program, ended up transitioning into an Institute of Maternal, Newborn, and Child Health under the Mbarara University of Science and Technology. So as we talk now, Healthy Child Uganda is a program under the Institute of Maternal, Newborn, and Child Health. And of course, we have done work within Uganda and beyond. We have done work in Mwanza in Tanzania. We have also, as you'll get to hear, with the digital stories, we have done work with the different universities in Eastern Africa. So we started with the, as you saw as you heard in the introduction, that I have worked so much with community volunteers. The project that started with 117 community volunteers. At the moment, we are working with a network of over 8,000 community volunteers, and we are all known for that. We are well known for that in the country, especially as far as using our sites and our results and models to inform policy is concerned, both with Ministry of Health, and now we have also added Ministry of Education as we entered into the area of adolescent health. So briefly, Mike, that is what I can say.
Yes.
Otherwise, a story of about 23 years is hard
Yeah.
to summarize
It's
in two
hard to
minutes.
summarize. Yes. Yeah, that's amazing, Teddy. When you just share the work of 23 years in just a few minutes to show how much has been accomplished. And so Healthy Child Uganda is very well respected sort of group and the Institute for Maternal and Child Health. And I just got to be involved, got to sort of jump on the bandwagon of the wonderful work they've been doing about 7 years ago. There's a photo of Teddy. I know you can't see her on the screen right now. There, she's on the right-hand side of the screen there. It's a photo of me and Teddy and Barbara in my very first trip over to Uganda. Dr. Jen Brenner asked me, could we maybe use digital stories to help move sort of the mission of Healthy Child Uganda forward and as a knowledge translation tool for the different programs that were being developed with Healthy Child Uganda. And so we came up with this idea of how we could use digital storytelling to be involved. And I was also a student, Teddy, not underestimating students there. I was in, I think maybe the second year of my PhD or third year of my PhD in that photo there. And that's when we first started coming up with this idea of using digital storytelling. Really quickly, to show you how the partnership has developed over time, we did a pilot project where I went over, we made some stories, we started training some facilitators, some digital storytelling facilitators, and I'll share a bit more about digital storytelling in a bit in our pilot. And then we started developing a facilitator team. And so now I don't know the exact numbers, but I think there's about 15 or 16 people who have been trained at Mbarara University of Science and Technology to utilize this digital storytelling methodology. And they're using the methodology in all sorts of different ways. With the programs that whether research programs, quality improvement programs, all sorts of different things. And we're going to get to learn more about that as we go. And we also trained facilitators from other countries, Kenya, Malawi, Rwanda, Tanzania. There's been facilitators trained in all these countries now that come to the hub, digital storytelling hub, to be trained so that they can go out and use digital storytelling in their own projects. And now we're sort of in the sustainability phase where we've developed a textbook and all sorts of training resources, and we're still running projects, digital storytelling projects around East Africa. And unfortunately, our other colleague Robens, who is sort of the digital storytelling coordinator, is having some difficulties getting online right now, and so I'm not sure he'll be able to join us. but I'll just share a little bit more about what digital storytelling is. And so really quickly, we're going to watch one in just a second. But digital stories, they include narration. There's a written story that is then narrated or used as a voiceover for the video that is being made. The other thing that is interesting about digital story is it provides meaningful context, and so it's not just a little snapshot of like social media storytelling. This it has an entire story arc with a beginning, middle, and end, and people can really get additional context to understand the experience of the person sharing the story. We also use music and other sound effects to reinforce different ideas. And then we use images to capture or expand on the emotions in the narrative. And ultimately, a good digital story invites reflection, thoughtful reflection from audiences, and it leads to really good conversation. And that's what we found, and that's what we'll sort of demonstrate for you guys today, is how good stories lead to good conversation, which ultimately can change beliefs, attitudes, and values and behaviors, which I know is a big part of the AVA sort of collaborative. Really quickly, how we make these stories. Well, we use something that we developed called the 4 phases model of digital storytelling. And essentially, we start by finding meaningful moments in people's lived experiences. We ask them questions, we take them through a process to find meaningful moments that they want to share with others. Then we take them through the telling phase, which is where we use sort of the principles of creative screenwriting and all sorts of different storytelling techniques to help turn those moments into a compelling narrative arc. Then there's the crafting phase, and this is where we help people record their voiceover, the story they've written, select images that they want to include in the story to help tell the story, and then help them use the video editing techniques to really make that story something that's compelling and emotional. That people can connect with. And then finally, we share the story. And we share it with the participants themselves, and potentially, if the participants consent to the sharing of it publicly, then we can start embedding it in all sorts of education, advocacy, knowledge translation sort of context. The main thing about digital storytelling is there's a form to it, but there is no formula. It looks very different here in North America than it does in East Africa, and that's important, right? It's something that can be contextualized to the particular time and place in which you're working. And we found it works very well in sort of technology limited sort of context. It creates really compelling stories, visual stories, without having to have a lot of equipment in order to do that, like making a regular film would. So, Teddy, do you want to talk a little bit more about your digital storytelling experiences over there before we watch the film? I know Robens was going to take this slide, but I can do it if that's okay for
Okay.
you. Oh, you want to do it? Okay, go for it, Teddy.
Okay. So we have had a number of stories, about 100, and most of them are women. They are the storytellers. That is the 61%. And it's a wide range of storytellers from different socio-economic status, and they are in terms of people who have had some education and others who have not had education. Whereas the story finding and telling, people write their scripts. Those who don't know how to write, we use a storyboard, and they are able to remember how to flow when they are recording their story. And these storytellers are both from urban and rural settings, and they use different languages. Interestingly, we have one story that is in French.
Mm-hmm.
The storytellers have been identified to fit into most of the themes or the agenda of a specific project. Like currently, we're working on the Healthy Adolescents and Young People initiative that has a lot to do with the gender-based violence. So that has been one of the themes that we have been targeting for the stories that have been created. We have had stories around menstruation, either it's delayed menstruation and an adolescent is struggling with that, or it is managing menstruation amidst, poverty where you don't even have what to use. And then that is useful for mobilizing the support at different levels for the young people who are struggling with menstruation issues. Then we have had lots of substance use and abuse among the adolescents. So we have had stories of young people who have struggled with those challenges and those who have overcome, to use those stories to encourage others who are still struggling to see how they can get out of it. One of the other issues that the adolescents here are struggling with, and I think globally, is the mental health issues. And we have stories around that. The preterm birth and the positive parenting. The preterm birth stories, the preterm birth, and then we also now have stories of neurodevelopment challenges among children, and those are specifically targeting their specific studies that we are doing with pediatrics. And these are things that people never pay attention to. So we are using these stories to mobilize communities and stakeholders at different levels. Then the how we create our stories. We have either one-on-one, as you can see in the photo, the lady and the gentleman, those ones were in the process of creating a story, or sometimes we have a workshop format, and of which workshop format is very important, especially when it comes to the therapeutic use of digital stories, as people share their stories at different stages. They are able to, get some benefit of healing. Then the people have been able to come to us to create stories. Partners like NGOs, different projects and programs. Then we have also created stories for lecturers, like as I have said, the pediatric department. Those are lecturers and they are researchers, and they are specifically interested in preterm and then the neurodevelopment. So that is a new area where we have created stories. Then also patient and advocacy groups. We have also helped to create stories for them. Then, as Mike said, when we started in 2019, our aim, and that has been the role of Healthy Child Uganda, which has transitioned into an institute, is to create different teams at the university that provide different trainings. And in digital storytelling, we're purposely selecting lecturers and professors of the university who had skills in qualitative and facilitation skills to be able to support the finding and telling phases of the storytelling. And then also we're looking at people who could help with the crafting and the sharing. Those are different skill sets. And specifically, that is how we're able to recruit our 10 facilitators. And along the way, we have come to appreciate that at some level, some people are stuck into their area, like they are storytellers. They are good at finding and telling, and maybe crafting. Here, technology is not so much of our friend. So the crafting bit, now we have innovated and we have brought students on board. We have students of IT on board who come to support if we have bigger teams to support with the crafting, because some of our facilitators of digital story can only do the finding and telling. So whereas my clerk is lucky and can take people through all the stages of storytelling, of digital storytelling, for us, the teams that we work with, the lecturers and the professors, are able to do specific tasks. The finding and telling team is very specific in that area. And then we have another team that is very good at crafting. And that is where we have brought in the students as well.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, that's wonderful, Teddy. Give us an overview of how things are going over there, and what we call the team-based approach to creating digital stories is something that was developed in East Africa. A lot of places that do digital storytelling around the world, it's a single facilitator takes people through the process. But in Uganda at Must, we've developed this team-based approach that works really well. And so it's now time to actually see what does it look like to create a digital story, and then what is it like to share that digital story. And so we created a short documentary film a couple years ago called A Shared Dream. And it's basically showcases the entire digital storytelling process from start to finish, and also speaks about gender equality in East Africa. And what you're going to see is the team at Must, the Healthy Child Uganda, taking someone through the process of creating a digital story, and then we're sharing it with students at the university to facilitate meaningful conversations about gender equality. And so very much related to the themes here at AVA. And so we're going to watch this story. As you watch, just think about one thing that resonates with you, something that stands out to you in the story. And then you can put that into the question and answer feature if you want to share what stood out to you. So here we go. Here is the film, A Shared Dream.
Everyone can find commonalities in these stories.
There is much meaning in stories, meaning which is very impactful.
Storytelling being part of African life, I think this is the best way to bring out what these people can share.
Your story has value and it will impact somebody. So you want to encourage them to speak. People connect through stories.
Okay, so you are welcome, everyone. Yeah, I'm very happy to see you. First of all, Adolescent Child Uganda and Must, we work with communities to identify their health challenges and work with them to identify those resources that they have so that they can deploy them and address those challenges. And to do that one, we use a number of methodologies to engage communities. And one of them happens to be digital storytelling. The next item on our agenda is introductions.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm called Namanya Sarah.
Continuing student in my third year, pursuing a bachelor's degree in agriculture and livelihood.
Doing Bachelor of Science in Gender and Applied Women Health.
Hi everyone, my name is Makoma Nelson.
I'm doing Bachelor of Science in Gender and Applied Women Health.
Pursuing Bachelor of Science in Planning and Community Development.
My name is Ayabale Julian, doing Bachelors of Science in Planning and Community Development. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So at this time, I will welcome Babla to lead us in the next session. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Robins. Did you say you're called Macklin?
Yeah.
Aha. Macklin, do you have a dream?
Yes, of course.
You have a dream? Okay. Letitia. Letitia, do you also have a dream? Okay. I hope all of us in the room have dreams. And because we all have dreams, there are journeys we go through as we pursue those dreams. Okay? So this morning, we are going to watch a story that is shared by somebody who has a dream.
Oh, Nancy.
Yes.
You're welcome. Huh?
Thank you.
Good morning.
How are you? Morning.
I'm fine.
Yes.
How was the journey?
It was okay.
Okay.
I enjoyed.
Dr. Nema is going to be helping us. Actually, is going to be working with you to do the finding and telling your story. You know your story like how you are telling it to me. It is very long. It spreads through years and months. So she's an expert. She's going to help you trim down that story. At a later stage, I come to help you with crafting, recording, and putting the images, the soundtracks. Then Babla Nagai, she is going to join us, and she will mainly be helping us with sharing your story.
Really eager to work with you today. I head the Department of Gender, issues of culture and current gender relations in families, the position of a lady, a girl child, and how we are pushing on for career development. Think we are now good to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will leave you to have a girl talk.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So Nancy, first briefly tell me your story so that I conceptualize it and see how I can guide you before we start writing it on the paper.
And I had applied for nursing.
And they admitted you.
And they admitted me.
So start from there. How did it go?
So whatever they could tell me in school, I wanted to do it.
You were ready for
everything. Because I wanted to become, I had seen that I'm heading to where I wanted to be. If you're really interested, then for me, any relationship I start is the relationship which will take us to marriage. Are you ready for that?
You are the one now suggesting.
Yes, he said yes. Then I said, to be sure that you are saying a yes, which is a yes, you will take me to your home.
They see me.
They see me, they know that you have someone. And two, I be sure that you don't have a wife at home, because I never wanted a man who was married. It was part of me.
You know, in our culture here, it is not so easy for a woman to make those suggestions. First, take me to your home, don't have sex. We are shy, but this, I feel this boldness was a strong point in your life. I want us to pick, which I was capturing here, only sections that were concerning you. You can use any expression that you feel can bring out the real word of how you were feeling.
Yeah, for home I sat 6 months. Then at my aunt.
No, but here you want your feeling, your expression. When you were at home,
I sat home
how were you feeling?
Months. Of course, frustrated. Could
I was very frustrated. So when we type this, we are going to re-edit it and get better verbs. But the hardest part was this one, the composition, where we now have a story to share.
Okay.
Yeah. So I can see lunch is being prepared, and we first have lunch, then the typing will come.
Good. I'm happy to join you again.
You're welcome.
Have you played Bange?
I'm okay. Nice seeing you.
How did you feel when you were starting?
Of course, at the beginning, I felt a little bit nervous, but she kept reassuring me. It is my story. I just give it the way I have it. I said, okay.
So it was easy to say it the way
yes.
Okay.
That's true.
How was Nema? From your end, how was she as a facilitator?
No.
Feedback.
Sometimes we fear to speak the truth, thinking that it will block us.
But
now
it
in
can
this
be an
case,
opportunity. Where I was encouraged by one influential friend.
Where I was encouraged.
Okay. If you are satisfied, I can say we are done. Let's go to the studio. Then we record the voice.
From a very humble background of 5 siblings, that is 2 girls and 3 boys, I was born a 4th born. And being a second last child, I had very many big challenges in my education, with my parents taking frequent loans and selling little properties, including the animals and the land we had. Despite those hardships, I managed to complete my primary and secondary education. However, After senior 4, there was nothing more left to be sold. It seemed we had reached a dead end, and I sat home for 6 months. I was very frustrated. I hated myself. I even hated my parents. I even regretted why I was born in such a family. When my mom saw all this, she suggested that I go to my uncle's place in Nairobi, where I spent 2 years working as a house help. While in my uncle's place, I developed a strategy to win my aunt's heart, which helped me to win her favors. I loved and cared for her children. I consulted her on every activity I could do. I washed clothes, I ironed, cleaned the house, and cooked food, which eventually placed me in a position to be considered and helped. While staying with them, I was convinced to join other professions. They suggested I join police because this is where they had connections and networks. But this was not my calling, and so I declined the offer. Fortunately, Kampala International University, Uganda advertised my dream courses, which I applied for, and excitingly, I was admitted for nursing. While there at KIU, we were required to first do a bridging course for 6 months, which became a basis for my later studies, that is clinical medicine and community health.
I really thank you. This is a very good, powerful story. I think it is going to open the eyes of very many people, young and old. Today we are going to continue with the crafting. So we are going to be adding in your story photos and the videos and the music, so it is going to be so good.
Yes.
Yeah, so growing up in a humble background and facing challenges attaining your education, which image comes into your mind?
Maybe a homestead, a local homestead.
Local homestead.
Yeah, we can get a picture of the gate and the darkness.
That would be so artistic, picture of the gate. So should we bring in the excitement here, like transition from village setting to
another urban setting? Can we get a bridge?
We get a bridge.
Because a bridge can make you cross to the other side. But maybe by the end we can bring back the other tunnel, showing the light now. What we think is impossible can be possible.
Then we're introducing the light.
Yes.
When
the
you
KIU
get an
advertises.
to KIU. Let's do that one. Okay. Can make a very good movie director. Tomorrow, we are going to have an opportunity of sharing your story. How do you feel about it?
I have no problem with that, because that was the main reason why I had to come up and talk about my story. It might help 1 or 2 persons to also achieve in their life. I know so many young people are undergoing those tough moments. Yeah, and I want to bring it clearly that the way has never been easy.
So this morning we are going to watch a story that is shared by somebody who has a dream, and she's sharing her experience of how she navigated through the different valleys and mountains to be able to achieve her dream. So determined to succeed.
I worked extremely very hard, and I was determined to pass and finish my course because I knew where I was coming from. I joined serious group discussions where I was encouraged by one influential friend who later became my boyfriend and currently my husband. I was very bold to tell my boyfriend that we delay having sex, thus avoid unwanted pregnancy in the course of our studies. To be sure he was a serious person, I requested him to introduce me to his parents. He was a bit surprised, but later he did it. I was lucky to get a job with a mission hospital through the support of my fiancé. It is from their payment that I supported me to clear the outstanding school fees back at the university, but also it contributed to the process of our wedding. I am now working as an in-charge in one of the health center treats. At the same time, I'm a nutrition focal person in Vishenyi district. I must say that I am happily married to this influential gentleman, and we are blessed with 5 children, both girls and boys. Brothers and sisters, be bold, be courageous, be determined, be focused, and above all, be God-fearing people. Remember, what we think is impossible can be possible.
Before we move into the discussion, I want us to give ourselves an opportunity to share with a neighbor next to you.
One thing that I have learned from this story is that this lady was so God-fearing. She was committed.
She was determined.
She was determined for everything.
Thinking of going to join the police, the army, and whatever.
She didn't want anything to put her off track.
Yeah, she didn't really want anything to put an obstacle on her when she was really determined to reach where she was going. Yeah.
So, at this point, I'd like to ask you, how did watching that story make you feel? Yes?
Okay, thank you. From this story, I felt so touched. They sold everything so that this lady can get to senior 4. It's like I'm one of them because I've been in such an incident. But the other thing I learned is that if you're given a chance, you maximize it.
Good. So when you're given an opportunity, maximize.
There are 2 lessons I've got from this story. One is, as ladies, okay, me as a lady, I should be principled.
You should be principled.
Yeah. Like that comes from what you want and what you want to achieve. Then the other lesson I've got is social capital.
Social capital.
The way they support you, it is very, very important.
Many of girls, I think there are a few, who can stand up and say, you're my boyfriend, according to my background, please, I'm kind of requesting, we shouldn't have sex in our relationship, that I can achieve my dream. There are very few can do that. And us boys, we are very few who can.
I like that.
Can recognize that. We are very few can recognize that request.
Yeah.
So
what are you telling the young men now?
So, you get a boyfriend or a girlfriend, you're always in the room, cleaning, doing what, of which it may not take you anywhere.
Yeah.
You find getting retakes.
So when you have a dream, stick to the dream. And young men, please honor the request. Yes, please.
I may say I'm going through the same situation. And I thank her she didn't fall for other traps. Girls, we are here. I'm part of the girls. I cannot say girls. We, the girls, we fall into traps. And you end up missing out. Stand in, be firm. It's hard and it's difficult. And there are many temptations, but there is light at the end of the tunnel.
Good. There is always light at the end of the tunnel.
As a man, and I think a lesson worth sharing to the other men, we should be very understanding.
Okay.
Have you heard Robens and Manasseh?
We should be very understanding. I loved it when the man, the husband to the lady in the video, when he was able to understand the lady's nature, the background, and the goals, the dream of the woman.
I felt so emotional and inspired by this lady because she was so hardworking. She didn't disguise any work. She was so confident, and above all, she knew God. And nothing is impossible with God.
Nothing is impossible with God. Thank you very much, Letitia. Yes?
I've learned that any situation
I am in. I'm not always alone. Every other person is facing it, and I've gained hope and courage that at a certain moment, I will also achieve my dreams.
Good. Thank you very much. Thank you. This morning, we are glad that Nancy is here with us. I don't know whether she has something to share with us.
You know, as you were discussing, I became a little more emotional, but I want to be strong because I've always been strong.
Yes.
I am this strong woman.
Yes.
I'm very proud that my story has touched many. We think that the path is smooth. It has never been smooth. Even those who come from rich families, they have their stories. Please go out and inspire. Go out and share a lot of these stories. It can help someone somewhere. Thank you so much. I didn't know how it was going to be, but today, after sharing my story with many people, the participants, after their discussion, I feel I'm a changed person. I even feel that, yes, I went through that, but I overcame it.
Many times it's the ladies who are more vocal about their feelings and, connecting with the stories. But seeing gentlemen in the room, the male students speak and speak from a genuine part of their lives, that was also a good thing.
So whoever is in position of adopting this methodology, they should not wait because it is very helpful.
Now, hopefully that she has shared, it might bring a difference in their lives. Those moments of joy, I've succeeded, I have achieved my mission for sharing this story.
They remain focused, they will achieve their dream. They need to keep praying, they need to keep pressing. It's never too late. Keep on keeping on until you achieve your goal. So today I feel a different person.
Everyone can find calm.
There we go. A shared dream. It was a wonderful experience. I mean, you guys get to see just a little glimpse of how digital stories are created. But I would say almost most importantly, how they are shared and used to start really meaningful conversation. And it's not just about gender equality, right? Like Teddy said, there's so many different topics and experiences that are represented through the stories they've created. And they use them in all sorts of trainings, in communities, in with decision makers, politicians, to start conversations just like that. And to me, it really showcases the power of a good story that's well told, like I mentioned before. So I realize that we maybe have gone just a little bit long, but really quickly, we wanted to share just a couple final things before maybe we'll open it up for a conversation. There's many different ways, like mentioned on the screen here: knowledge to action, training, quality improvement, community engagement, difficult conversations. And also they, like Teddy mentioned, they are using the digital stories nationally now for adolescent and young adult health. A lot of the stories that were created are now part of national curriculums and being implemented in all places, many places all over the country of Uganda to help start these conversations like the ones you've seen on the screen. We were going to show a very specific story about gender-based violence called Unspoken Pain. And we don't have time to watch that particular story right now, but it is a very powerful story that was created by someone who'd experienced gender-based violence as a younger girl and is now 45 years later telling the story. And this story in particular, I'll just mention, has been used in a very powerful way to start conversations in communities about adolescent health. And we were going to use as an example of how you can share a single story with a decision maker. And based on that single story, them change the entire structure of their programming for adolescent youth and the way that they support them, in particular, this story led to some really big changes in some of the communities around southwestern Uganda, around creating safe spaces for adolescents to go to, and creating adolescent-friendly spaces in health facilities around sort of this southwestern province in Uganda. So unfortunately, yes, we can't jump into that one. The final thing that I would share really quickly, and sorry, Teddy, I'm rushing through some of this. I didn't realize where we were at with our timing. But there's many different ethical ideas embedded into the work that we're doing in Uganda, but also in digital storytelling all over the world, and that's very relevant for everyone here in North America as well. And I've just shared a couple of these overarching concepts that we employ whenever we're doing digital storytelling here for you guys. And I'll explain them quickly. Storyteller well-being is sort of an operational idea about how to do ethical storytelling in the moment. And this is formulated by this question: by doing this action, by taking this step, will I be enhancing the storyteller's well-being or detracting from a storyteller's well-being? And so at every step in the process, by offering this idea to the storyteller, am I enhancing their well-being or detracting their well-being? By choosing this image, am I enhancing well-being or detracting well-being? By having them present at the screening of their story, would that enhance their well-being or detract from their well-being? And so all the decisions that you saw in A Shared Dream throughout the whole process were animated by that one question: are we enhancing storyteller well-being or detracting from storyteller well-being? And you can't always answer that question perfectly, but what it does is it creates an ethical orientation to the storytelling creation process and also the story sharing process as well. Audience well-being is another concept we talk about quite a bit. Another thing that is used behind the scenes that you didn't get to see in the film is something called the decision aid. We actually have a 5-page sort of decision aid that we made that helps us with the ethical decision making at all sorts of different layers of the process, in addition to setting very clear goals and objectives. And a lot of the challenges that people experience when they're telling stories or asked to tell stories is they don't know why. They don't know exactly what and how and where and why the story will be shared, for what purpose. And so the decision aid really clarifies things. It lays out a very ethical process to follow that gives people multiple off-ramps to stop the creation of the story at any time. Also provides opportunities to follow up with people in a meaningful way should they need support telling stories, difficult stories sometimes, like the ones that Teddy and her team are creating. We also have something called the Continual Consent Protocol, where consent is not done as a one-time thing up front, because people cannot make an informed consent decision for the release of their story until they've seen what they've created. And that's something that we really need to be aware of when sharing stories. People don't know what story they're going to tell sometimes until they sit down and they actually create it. And so we have this continual consent protocol where people consent up front to participate. Then they make all these assent decisions through it. You saw Robens asking questions. Would you like to use this photo or this photo? They're assenting to these different sort of creative decisions. And then at the end, once they see the final story, then that's when they sign the written consent document for the distribution or sharing of their story. And then there's this continuing ongoing relationship with the storytellers, so that they know how and when and where and why their story is being shared, and they can remove consent at any point in time should they not want the story to be shared further. And then finally, of course, real stories come with real emotions. And sometimes people sit down to tell the story and they realize they are maybe not in the best place to tell that story at that point in time. And if that is the case, in Uganda, they develop a relationship with an organization that provides counseling to people, so we can refer people onto those services should they be needed, or any other sort of supportive services in the community as well. So those are just a real quick snapshot of some of the ethical storytelling practices I think are really important anytime you would like to use stories to change beliefs, attitudes, and values, and engage with different communities to help them tell it. That is something that's very relevant, I would say, to all the work that members of the AVA sort of community would find relevant. So sorry to rush through all that stuff at the end, but very excited to be here and be able to share that with you, talk about the incredible work Teddy and her team have been doing. And we just want to say thank you to all the different project partners that we've had over the years as we've developed these materials. Teddy, do you have any final thoughts you'd like to share before we wrap up here and take some questions?
Maybe the final thing I can share is that the digital stories have paved the way for us to be able to penetrate subjects that are very hard to talk about in our culture, in our environment. Issues like related with sexuality, taboos, they are issues that you can't easily talk about, but those are the things that the young people wanted us to discuss, and they also wanted to be part of the discussion. But I think without digital stories, it was going to be hard to achieve what we were able to achieve in areas of menstrual management, where we see fathers and male men coming on board. That was something that everyone was asking ourselves: how did you achieve this? Then issues of sexuality generally, we don't talk about sex and those related topics. But with the digital stories, we're able to play a story and then people openly discussed. So Mike was our coach and our mentor, because he was my teacher in Canada, and that is how digital stories came to Uganda, and he has worked with us all through. Thank you so much. You're part of the achievements that we have had in a Healthy Adolescents and Young People program. Thanks.
Amazing. Thanks, Teddy. Yeah, it's so amazing to see all the incredible work you guys are doing. It's incredibly inspiring to so many people I know, for sure. So great. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you so much for delivering this informative presentation as part of the AVA Webinar Wednesday series. And I believe that we've all learned a lot about the importance of the Digital Storytelling Project. And I really appreciate your time in presenting today. If anyone has questions, please feel free to post with the Q&A function. I have a couple of questions myself on the basis of your presentation. And specifically, I'm wondering if you could provide further insight into how the Healthy Adolescents and Young People program integrated DST into its work.
Great one. Yeah, Teddy, I'll pass that one to you.
Okay, so for us in Uganda, we started the Digital Story program in 2019. And that was at the time we were preparing for the Healthy Adolescents and Young People. We also hadn't understood it so much. So we had a few stories that we had created during the first phase of the Digital Story program. And then in 2020, we started the Healthy Adolescents and Young People. And as we're struggling with how to introduce some of the topics, as I said, because that was the time when in Uganda there were discussions around homosexuality issues and the like. So it was hard to go to a community and you start talking about adolescent health. People would think you're indirectly promoting what our law is against. So that is how we thought about, why can't we use stories so that we see how they will speak to the communities. And at that time, we had a famous story, which we were calling Carol's story. This was a girl of 14 years who was defiled by a teacher. She gets pregnant. She's mistreated in the health facility during antenatal and delivery. Finally, she delivers. She gets a second chance and goes back to school. So that was the story that was trendy that we used in our orientation, and it caught fire. That is how we also got this other unspoken pain. When we shared this story of Carol, then the storyteller of unspoken pain came out in the audience and said, I also have a story to tell. I must share my story. So that is how it started. But when we were writing, Mike, if you can remind me, in our proposal for healthy adolescents and young people. I am not sure whether we had the digital story as a health promotion strategy, but along the way, we got to learn that we could use these stories to be able to engage and pave way for us in the community at district level, at national level, without being labeled as if we are promoting what is not supposed to be promoted in Uganda. And then when we realized that that was the way to go, we created more stories. And then eventually, when we're ending the Healthy Adolescents and Young People program, GAC requested us to produce stories of change. So they had a guideline that we were following. It was like a questionnaire, and we wondered how you'd use a questionnaire to be able to tell a story of impact. So later along the way, we also said, now if the stories have worked for us to engage at different levels and have even been adopted by Ministry of Health, why don't we do stories for GAC? So we abandoned their questionnaire, and then now we created stories of change. So that is what was appreciated more than what we struggled with as stories. So that is how we came to use stories. And as ministry also came on board, they appreciated this. By the way, it's not even being used for health promotion in adolescent health alone. We have stories of cancer, we have stories of other illnesses, and in writing, Ministry of Health has accepted digital stories to be used countrywide as a health promotion strategy. In this month, on 8th, we are bringing Ministry of Education on board. They will be in the workshop here at the university to also see how they can incorporate these stories into their engagements, especially where they need the schools to be more innovative and creative without being so demanding in terms of the government should add us more budget, more budget. Money has never been enough. So they want to see how they can use this. That is how we came to use digital stories. And as people saw them and used them, they picked interest, and that is how it has gone viral. And in the country, it is something everybody knows and they use.
Yeah, it's awesome. Maybe I'll just add really quickly to that because they created a wonderful curriculum, training curriculum for local groups, local leaders, local teachers and administrators, things like that. And a lot of their training, they had these different, the wheel of all things that make up healthy adolescent young people. A lot of those modules had digital stories embedded into their educational activities to stimulate meaningful conversation and contextualize the content that they were sharing. And so, I think Teddy is very amazing in the way that she's discovered all the different ways that you can embed digital stories whether you're meeting with policy and decision makers, instead of just giving them data, showing them a story first and then talking about the connection to the data, right? That's another way they've done it. But it's really anytime that you're doing a public presentation or connecting about a specific topic related to adolescent young adult well-being, you just throw in a digital story and all of a sudden people really are listening to everything that you say. Something we've experienced.
Maybe if the time allows, I can say this as well. So one of the other areas where we have used digital story is in knowledge translation. So when we do research, we and create themes, then we look for the stories. Now that we have so many stories, you'll find that most of the research themes fall somewhere in the stories that we already have. Like one of the stories, even before we started, hey, there was a story around maternal deaths. And we had a study that we had done using IDRC funding, and it was about the vulnerability, how they are able to benefit from programs like the programs we offer as Healthy Child Uganda. So we used the story of a digital story of one of our storytellers, and it fits so well into the theme of vulnerability. So the district decided that they develop a map that they could use to show the donors, the partners, and the government so that they are able to allocate resources to benefit the most vulnerable. Because the issue that was coming up when we did that study, the study brings out the different areas that were spotted as they had to reach and the most vulnerable areas where the maternal, newborn, and health services were not reaching. So they had their map, and their map, when you go to the district, that is their pride. That is the first thing they will show every donor. If you have any coin for maternal, newborn, and child health, this is the map. It originated from the digital story that we shared that was about the maternal, newborn, and child health, the maternal deaths, and it fit so well with the vulnerability study findings. So we realized that most of the time we'd go and disseminate results, but we never got anything tangible apart from, you have disseminated, and that is the accountability. But this time we were able to realize something because a map was as a result of, why don't we identify these vulnerable areas so that we can always use the map to direct the resources that we have as government, but also from other players. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much to both of you for describing in detail the measurable impacts that have resulted from sharing digital stories within southwestern Uganda communities. And I really appreciate your time with respect to describing the results of this important initiative regarding the creation and sharing of stories about adolescent and young adult health. So just as a few concluding notes to the AVA webinar audience, that this recording will subsequently be made available, and this will be on AVA's YouTube channel. And also please complete the feedback survey. There will be a follow-up email later today. You can find the QR code as you would have seen just on the screen. And thank you so much for attending the AVA webinar presentation today as part of AVA Webinar Wednesdays.